Number 4, we have nothing. 5, consent agenda. Motion moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Bush Jones. Any comments or questions about it? Any? For the question, in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, any business arising from the minutes? I don't have any noted. So we're going to staff reports 7.1, CAO verbal update.
Good morning, everyone. Heather Paul, CIO SLRD. It's come to our attention that the LGLA conference in March is taking place at the same time as the EAD meeting. And there was a request to discuss moving that meeting. This has happened in the past. And what has happened is it would be moved to the Tuesday, which would be March 11th, I believe. And that also supports travel for some of the more rural area directors as well. Stop here, continue on. So the Monday and Tuesday would be the ideal option, but wanted to bring that to the table for discussion by the directors.
So we're suggesting that Tuesday the 11th?
It is. Yeah.
Tuesday the 11th. Director Bush Jones?
Just, I think we're trying to accommodate Director DeMare to go to the, and Sal does the 11th work then?
It's perfect. It's leave right from here.
So I was hoping that we could do it the week before, which is right on the heels of the SLRD. So staff might not like that. I'm okay with the 11th. I'll probably be zooming in for that one anyway. But I will attend, so we'll have a quorum.
I could come to the one on the 11th. Obviously, I couldn't come on the 12th because that was my birthday. So where's my birthday? So
We've had meetings on your birthday before.
We could have a cake.
fully booked.
So a motion to move the EAD in March to the 11th?
The 11th. Moved Director Bush Jones, seconded by Director DeMare. Director Mack, do you have any questions or comments?
No,
on that?
it's fine.
That works for me. For the question, we're all in favor. Motion carries, so that to be moved.
So I'd like to, if I could continue on this topic, is the electoral area director, GBCM EAD session down in Richmond. So I'll be going to that one. And the main topic looks like communications. And I'm wondering if there's going to be any staff going to that.
And we can take that offline and look at it.
They're not cited though. It's not a staff event.
Yeah.
They're welcome to go, but there's
So many
it's
different.
directed at the politicians.
Okay.
They have others, professional development for staff through LGMA. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah, we're still in CAO verbal.
Okay, so I can add something.
Yes.
Just that staff are active on the UBCM, the LGMA, all of those platforms, attending conferences or training sessions, as desired or needed. The ones that they are privy to being invited.
I'll bring back what I can from it.
Okay, so we done on that?
Yes.
We are. We need a motion to receive the CAO verbal, move, let's do it, send to her in there. Approve motion carries, so we move now. Now, are we ready to do this one?
No, we are waiting for the property owner to attend virtually.
Okay.
May I suggest we move to item 7.3 and
Yep.
allow that property owner some time to join the meeting?
Okay. So please join us and are you aware of what we just said there? That with 7.2, we're going to delay because we're expecting the property owner to join us. So we're going to 7.3 right now.
Thank you.
Chair, I spoke to the property owner on 7.2 about an hour ago. I'm not 100% sure that they are still intending on attending, but we'll see. But we can go in your order, that's fine.
Let's do 7.3, and it just think we were expecting they to show up around 11, so do 7.3 first and then.
Still leave it to the end.
So,
Morning, everybody. Item 7.3, request for decision for a notice on title for Lot 13, District Lot 210, Lillooet District Plan 1241, accept Plan 42491, 1901 Sea to Sky Highway 99 in Electoral Area C. Key issues and concepts for this file on a stop work order was posted on March 5th, 2024 for construction without a permit. On March 8th, the property owner was contacted by a registered letter with notice that the posted stop work order was for the construction and assembly of structures in the property without a valid building permit in contravention of the SLRD's building bylaw 1611-2020. Property owners were requested to submit a building permit application before Tuesday, April 23rd. Otherwise, action would be taken to enforce regulations. Section 57 of the community charter would be invoked. We again contacted the property owner on June 20th of 2024. The property owner was again urged to obtain a required building permit. Property owner was contacted again on December 13th of 2024 with notice that the SRD EAD would be convening to discuss the request for the building staff to register a notice on title against the property. As the structure exists, no permit has been applied for or completed, and as this is a commercially used space, staff requests that a notice on title be placed at this time. An update since authoring this report, staff have been in touch with the property owners of this property. They do intend on applying for a building permit at some point in the future. That point in time is unclear as to them and us at the moment. Staff would recommend that we still move forward with the recommendation as we don't have an accurate timeline on any remedies or compliance with the building bylaw.
thank you.
Is that the only picture we have of this?
It's the only picture I have available currently. The property owners constructed a lean-to temporary building directly adjacent to their principal building for the purposes of storage. The main concern is that they are liable for the health and safety of their staff, as well as members of the public coming and going from the property. So the building is required to be measured for health and safety.
So the building they need the permit for is the one on the right-hand side of the picture, is that the idea? You can just see the one wall there,
So on the right-hand side of the picture,
yeah,
sorry, through the chair, on the right-hand side of the picture is the existing commercial building. The property owners have constructed a new building with shipping containers as the exterior walls and then a roof structure between the two, which is not permissible under the building code or the building bylaw without building permits validated for it.
okay.
Interesting. So, there's the bench.
So there's two, are they 40-foot sea cans?
Through the chair, it appears that they are 40 feet and that's a 40-foot roof structure across. I'm unclear as to what the span is. It looks like it in and around 12 feet or so, about 3 meters.
Genius. Any other questions or comments? So, can I have somebody move?
Who option one?
I'll second that.
Yes.
Maybe it's on title.
Andrew, have you got the wording for that?
Well, section 57, community charter notice in the land title office with respect to the property.
Moved Dr. Mack, seconded Director Jones. Any question on favor? Carries. We go. 7.4. That's the one that's removed. Yeah. So do we need a motion then on that to? No, that's just.
That's just information that it was removed as part of the late agenda.
I think we should give the 7.2s until 11,
To 11. Yeah,
just as courtesy.
it's okay with me. So we'd like to wait until 11 o'clock because we were expecting that the property owner would show up. And I don't want them to show up at 11 and say, I'm sorry, we've finished. So we'll carry on with the agenda and then we'll come back to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good. So we'll go to 7.5 then, which is our select funds report.
Always on his way.
It's on its way in. Any? Sorry? He's on his way in physically. Oh, okay, very good. Any comments before Colin gets here? Are we happy with it? Unhappy or?
Appreciation is spelled wrong in several places.
Appreciation. What are we gonna do? We're gonna talk about that
I think we should shut everything down.
Oh, Colin,
Hello, am I up? Sorry.
yeah, please, have a seat.
Morning,
Ready to
everyone.
go? Yeah.
This is the December Select Funds report. This would be the last report for 2024. When I bring it forward next month, it will include the 2025 revenue allocations. So this will be the last. So this one does not include any of the 2025 PIL allocations to the 5 services.
When are the 2025 monies available? Are they available right away?
We don't necessarily receive it from BC Hydro right away, but we do make it available to the service. We're starting in 2025.
Yeah.
Are there
You
any
might
other
be silent.
questions? Yeah.
I thought there might be some questions or comments.
I'm fine, thanks.
That's fine.
Well, the spelling of appreciation,
Oh.
it comes up incorrectly spelled in a few places.
Really?
I'm looking, what was my question? So can we go all the way down to B?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm really happy to hear we're gonna have our 2025 PILT allocation put in early. That was one of my questions. The civic address, so we're looking at area B down at the bottom under contributions to other services. The civic address signage pilot project, I believe that was the signs on the High Line, which I'm looking at the right line. That was completed, right?
The civic addressing signage pilot project was completed and we transferred those funds to the civic addressing service to cover the costs. So those costs live within the civic addressing service.
Okay, they just sit there.
That's why it's showing as the contribution to other services rather than the EAD expense.
Thank you. And I don't know that you'll know this, but I was really happy, the last entry there, Lillooet Area Refuse Grounds. To help cover the tipping fees for fire smarting. So is that indicating that there's $813.80 left or spent?
813 is what was spent.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So is the rest of it just tagged and sitting in that budget and is available to be spent on that in the future? Or do I have to make another resolution?
I believe the resolution was specific to September and October of 2024, so
So,
I reallocated the remaining funding, but if you wanted to support that initiative again, we could bring another resolution
okay,
forward.
so it's gone back into
Yes,
the general select. Okay,
or into area B select, not general, but yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, good to know. And. Looking at appreciation fund down below, I don't see the 500 sitting there yet for 2025, right?
No, correct,
Until we have our new
the
allocation.
next report will be updated for 2025, and
Got it.
this is kind of a wrap up for 2024 since we were still waiting on a few things, so.
Thank you. That answers all my questions, Director Rainbow.
Okay, thank you. That's B taken care of. A, we're okay. C, we're okay. D, I'm fine. Thank you very much. Colin, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So we would need to receive
Motion
this.
to
Motion
receive,
to receive.
yeah.
Dr. Bush Jones, Mayor, all in favour, opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. So now is 10:59. By the time staff get reseated. Not coming. We don't think so. Well, it's 11. By the time we're ready to go up to 11 o'clock, so. Colin, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Next.
We're gonna go back to 7.2. Which is now 11. Good, I invite you forward again, please, and. Seven point two, this is the area B. We will proceed now.
Okay. Good morning again. Property in question, District Lot 5262, Lillooet District, accept plan 922. 21,000 Fountain Valley Road in electoral area B. Key issues, a stop work order was posted on the subject property on February 18th, 2022 for construction without a permit. On March 3rd, the property owner, which was the previous property owner, was contacted by a registered letter with notice that the supposed stop work order was for the construction of a single family dwelling, an accessory building, and another lean-to structure. Again, incorporating a shipping container on the property without valid building permits was a contravention of the SORD's building bylaw 1611/2020. On March 21st, the property owner was contacted again by a registered letter that sorry, that repeats itself a bit there. We were in contact with that property owner during this time at which we were notified that the ownership had changed, that the previous property owner had sold. And the current property owners were in touch with staff as well throughout that process and were notified of the contraventions that were existing. On November 5th, 2024, the current and new property owners were contacted via registered letter again with notification that the stop work order was still in effect and we were yet to receive a building permit application for any of the subject buildings, and that the file would move forward to notice on title consideration. And then again on December 13th, the current owners were contacted via courier that notice on title would be presented at this committee meeting today. As the structures exist and no permit has been applied for, staff requests that a notice on title be placed at this time.
Thank you. Dr. Bush Jones?
Thank you, and I understand there's a little more information based on a phone call, but my inclination reading this was, I see this is a new owner as of November. There's been a postal strike, but you've gotten around that by using a courier for our, okay, so they have at least received the notices, and obviously, because they've been back in touch with you, but I was inclined to extend this for 6 months, being that this is a new owner.
Ownership changed hands a few years ago, and at the time of that transaction, they were in touch with their office, me specifically, discussing the fact that there was a stop work order. The stop work order, the physical order was still present on the building. They were aware that it was in existence and in place, and the implications of that moving down the road. So the new owners are abundantly aware, and again, through conversations with them lately and again this morning, of what the implications of section 57 notice on title means for their properties.
Just for clarity, it's confusing to call them new owners if they may be the newest owner, but it's confusing in the report because it suggests that they're new. But they're not, like, they know.
Through the chair,
Since the stop work order, they are subsequent owners, but perhaps not, they didn't just buy it in November.
correct, and acknowledged. I think the new to the buildings, I guess, would be an explanation for that, as they weren't physically responsible for the construction. However, they purchased the property, they are responsible for everything that exists on the property. So,
Yeah.
understood, thank you.
And there's no new information, phone call with this is the property owner that was gonna come and talk to us this morning, who hasn't appeared, but has spoken to our building inspector.
Yeah, through the chair, they were made aware of the proceedings that would happen today, as is typical for these requests for decisions. I explained to them what the process was, and in the future that this does not affect their ability to apply for a building permit in the future. However, it stands as a warning to any future owners if they should they sell the property, that there is a deficiency on the property and a contravention of our bylaws.
Okay, so in your report, in number 6, you're talking about the current owner. And so the current owner is the one that was going to appear today that you have spoken to. They're fully aware when they purchased the property, they were aware of the stop work order and everything that's in place, and they know what they have to do to get all that stuff removed.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and they're not contesting that in any way.
No, they're not.
Okay. Thank you. Unless we have any other questions, a motion regarding this. I see a frown over here. I just want to make
Well,
sure.
I'm still trying to get the timeline here. When the person that you're talking to on the phone today, the current property owner, when did they buy the property?
Through the chair, I believe it would in the summer of 2022,
That's different. That's what I didn't understand.
in and around June, I believe.
So this is not a new in any way.
No, I spoke with the previous property owner very shortly after posting the stop work order. Explained to the previous property owner what the issues were, the contravention of the bylaw, how to amend this. Previous property owner informed me that he wasn't of the budget to be able to proceed with that, put the property up for sale. Current properties owners, through their process of due diligence, contacted the building department with questions regarding the stop work order, permit history of the property. They were instructed as to what all of this means within the context of the SRD's bylaws. So,
And do you get the impression, I mean, they reached out to you, so do you get the impression that they're working on this in a positive way?
through the chair, I don't. However, they are aware of the consequence of the section 57 notice on title. They intend to move forward on this at some point in the future, but as I've been told, this is a recreational property for these owners, and they will do it when time and budget affords them.
Right, back to the red.
Just curious, after, because the stop work order went in the very first one, February 22. So how much, when these people bought the property, the new owner, when they bought it in the summer of 22, has there been any more additions to it? Has any work been done to it? Or what?
Through the chair, to the best of my knowledge, no, not additional work that the new the current owners have done a little bit of landscaping and cleaned up the property a little bit to enjoy it as a recreational property, but the subject buildings that are in contravention of the bylaw, from my attendance, anecdotally, it happens to be in my neighborhood, and no, it doesn't appear that they've continued on with any further construction in contravention of the bylaw.
So the current owner purchased this property knowing that there was a deficiency there.
Correct.
They've owned it for a couple of years and haven't done anything yet to remedy that situation. They know what the remedy is. They know what the implications are of a notice on title. And you're suggesting we move ahead with it now.
Yes.
Fine. That seems pretty clear to me. It's not as though it's somebody that bought it 2 months ago and doesn't know what's going on. They're fully aware. So I would like a motion on this, please, from someone.
Well, based on the staff's,
Here.
based on the staff's recommendation, file a section 57 community charter notice in the land title office with respect to the property. The property owner may apply to have the notice removed once the contravention has been resolved. So moved.
Okay, so that's option one.
I'll second it.
Second, Director Mayor, any further comments or questions? I'll call the question, all in favour? Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We're going to move on to 7.6. Expert witness in place again. Go ahead.
So this report is a request to allocate some areas B Community Works Fund funding towards the detailed design of the Seton Fire Hall in the amount of $50,000. I'll open it up if there's any questions.
I'm really pleased to see this and to support this and to move it and express my thanks to Mr. Omar Butt and Colin, thanks for doing this. So I'll just make the motion that $50,000 be allocated to the Seton-Shalath Fire Protection Service from Area B Community Works funds towards the cost of detailed design drawings for the Seton Fire Hall expansion project.
Second. Mayor. Any questions, comments? Director Jones.
Once,
Could I just ask you, can you just explain where that fits in with the whole fire protection in that area? I think I understand, but.
well, it's just one important piece, and it is part of the locations that we're going to use for fire protection. And we have the ambulance housed there as
Okay.
well. And it's, I'd say, well, in need of a bit of an upgrade and an expansion to accommodate the equipment. Shalath will be putting a truck there. And something I've been waiting for on this particular project is I'm happy Community Works funds will fund fire halls. And now, even though in the report down farther, it says they're ineligible, it's an old form. I get
That form needs updating, but a few other things to do first.
But Northern Development Initiative Trust will also, if we have matching funds for a fire hall, we can look at about 50% in matching if we have the drawings and we actually have some price quote estimates to work with. So this is progress. And I would love to get on at least getting a quote for some of the work as soon as possible, once we have those design drawings, and then making the application to NDIT and try and make our Community Works Funds dollars go a little farther, would be great. So thanks, yeah.
So that hall is currently housing the ambulance.
Yep,
And it did have a fire truck in there. Is that gone now?
yes.
Yes. All right, thank you.
It's been moved and seconded.
Was
Done, yeah.
I think we've done that. Yeah, we
Did
did.
vote on,
We did. So, absent any further questions or comments, I'll call the question. In favour? Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. So that's-
Yeah.
Now we have a small item here, 7.7, information report, draft electoral area budgets. Are you handing that as well?
I will stick around, but Director LaFrance will,
She's gonna join us?
yeah, she's in her
Now,
office.
physically?
She's here today.
We'll just pause the moment just until Suzanne gets in here then. The budget yesterday. Well, I was in when you called me.
Suzanne?
No, I was reading with some residents. Is she here in the building?
She is.
We'll take 5 minutes break.
Thank you.
And that's good, because I want to have coffee. Okay, so we're on 7.7, which is the draft electoral area budgets. How would you like to do this, Suzanne? Would you like to speak to us first or just sit? You're going to speak. Go ahead.
Sure, yeah. Suzanne France, Director of Finance, and I'm here to present the first draft of the 2025 budgets for the EAD services. So these budgets reflect the most recent assessments available, which is a 2025 completed roll, and that was released January 1st this year. And just quickly, Area A's assessments went up 9.8%. Area B's 3.2%, Area C's 1.93%, and Area D just 0.36%. So overall, the EAD assessments have increased 1.98%. The EAD services are the civic addressing service, building inspection service, the elections UBCM service, the emergency planning service, and the general select grant funding services. So I'm going to skip the requisition portion right now to discuss that because there has been some last minute changes. And that's change to the building inspection budget. And it's a good change, but I just had the information last minute, so it's not reflected in this agenda item as yet. But we'll skip that requisition discussion and go into just the civic addressing budget to discuss, if that's okay. So it's budget, cost center 12,202. And the way this budget is shown is it's just taking all of the available funds and placing it into 2025 for any projects that we want to pursue. Basically, the projects available, like the amount available is 20,434 with $5,000 of staff time as well. And that leaves the reserve at 0. So this service hasn't had a requisition, I think, for over 10 years, but we could requisition if there was more projects needing civic addressing. But for now, that's what we have available. Separated at 25. Any questions on the civic addressing portion?
Chair?
Dr.
Yeah, the only question I have is like, so that project on the Highline Road, putting the addressing log, that's just a test program. So what does that actually mean? At a certain point in time, somebody will say, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's expand it throughout the regional district, or what's, like, is there an end date? So are we gonna, and how do we quantify how much of an improvement that is over not having them at all? Who's gonna do that?
Those are really good questions. I unfortunately don't know the operations side of things, but I see Heather Paul might have some information.
Say, who's the comment?
Hi, it was a question that was raised over the last few weeks when we were looking at budgets specifically to that area, and also brought in a conversation with for protective services and emergency planning about how we can be more preventative in consideration of the limitations that we are faced with the evacuation. And so looking at what other regional districts do, there is, I think RDOK has a good program where you can request based on emergency services or insurance purposes, a civic address. They have a process for that, which is pretty simple. So we're having internal conversations about that and that change to make it available to anyone. There is a very small fee. That fee is really just reflects commitment. And if they wanted the SLRD to manage the signage, then there's also a fee for that, or they can independently go through independent resources to do the signage. So it's something that we're talking about, and we're talking about how can we make it readily available for anyone. There is an understanding throughout the province why civic addressing is at times not released when it's a vacant property. It's to encourage building permits and development to go through the proper resources, because then during that process, you get your civic address. We recognize now through emergency response and insurance reasons that sometimes it actually is beneficial for vacant land to have those civic addressing. So looking at the lead of other regional districts, that's one of the how their approaches that are being taken.
Yeah, just to pick up on that. Yeah, I had a real issue with the explanation that I had that we don't put addresses on vacant lots. They have to get a building permit. Well, they may have a travel trailer on there, they may have whatever. But to me, if it's a registered lot, it should have an address, because if there's a building on one side and a building on the other, you've got an address and an address. So what, you skip an address, but now if somebody's gonna build there, how do you fill that in? So why not just, they should all have an address. Because whether you're going to a residence or a vacant lot, whatever, could be a recreational accident, whatever, it needs an address. So anyways, that's just my thought on the whole thing. Makes it a lot easier for the first responders that are responding to these areas, if they do have an address. And to put that, you gotta have a building permit. To me, that is like forcing people to put a building permit on. Maybe they don't wanna build anything, but they have that property, needs an address, so.
I totally agree with Director Mack. One of the issues that we have with BC Ambulance Service is that sometimes we don't have ambulance service there in Goldbridge because of the demanding of it. So they come out from Lillooet, and they're not familiar with the properties out there. And I've seen it time and again because of that. And, we had, remember vividly when we had that drowning at Young Lake. But the ambulance service went from Lillooet because ours was busy up in I'm up in Braylor dealing with an issue of ATV rollover. And they were on the other side of the lake. They didn't know where they were. I know, you know, we go to the next gen 911, that they'll be starting to use GPS. So that the properties are GPS, but we're a long way from that yet. So having a proper address on all the properties, like you said, there's a lot of properties that in our valley that nobody knows that anybody's there. But there's trailers, there's this, there's that, the list goes on and on.
I have a question for staff. Do we have the authority or the ability to say to somebody, you must post your address? Do we have?
May I ask that, we have a finance team at the table right
Right,
now, we
right.
don't have planning or emergency
No.
services at the table, and we hire incredibly qualified people to answer those questions. I would ask that where this conversation is going is commentary. It's not the direction that our current budget reflects, which
No,
is,
right.
so if the commentary is for staff to research assigning a civic address to every property and the costs associated to that. That is not currently in the work plan.
No,
Currently, what we're looking at is seeing a need and hearing a demand from some people and giving them the option to apply and be granted one at a very small fee.
so for what we're doing at the moment, the budget we have is sufficient. If we were to follow this thought, we might actually get to a situation where in the future we would need to increase this budget. But that's not the discussion for this year
At,
at this point.
it's not, that budget doesn't reflect any, so pulling
Okay.
any more money for.
Okay, I was gonna move along.
Okay, just, this was, when I understood a pilot project on the High Line, to me, the pilot is like, we'll try this here, and that will give us an indication of how much time and trouble it was, and do we want to do more of this? And of course, in Area B, I want it everywhere, because we're gonna light on fire, like Yalicum would be the next logical place in my mind. But maybe it's better for me to just encourage the Yalicum group to do it, rather than, I mean, I thought we were gonna take a more active role here, like with the High Line, because clearly that was so much in need. And I feel it's the same at the Yalicum and sometimes in certain places at Texas, not in the reserves are well signed now.
So the question for us right now is, do we want to increase this budget now in anticipation of some further action, or do we want to wait until we have some plans and then address it in the budget?
I think we should be proactive, and we should make sure that every residence or every property in the regional district has a street address, so that emergency responders
Yeah.
I get
know where
that,
they're going.
I get that.
So if we need more money, then we need more money in the budget.
Do we need it now? Should we ask?
Well, like I say, I think we should be proactive, and we should start this process sooner than later.
Please do.
I think what I'm hearing is that an information report on the progress status and the results of the High Line project. And then included in that information report, options moving forward, whether it be constituent-led addressing or overall, how the cost association with assigning an address for all parcels within the areas. And the options and pros and cons for that. We don't know what that number is that I think knowing that number is very important, the cost.
So I'd really like that. I'd like to make that motion, but my faulty memory is that we were talking about this a couple of years ago, and don't we have a subsidized signage rate for residents if they want it? Do we provide those signs to residents if they ask for them? I thought we did.
I know this one.
Okay, let's hold
All right.
up just a minute.
Okay,
Because we could go on for an hour discussing this. We probably need, we identified that there was an issue raised a while ago that we don't feel has been adequately addressed. But the question, do we need to put some money into this budget area now this year, so that as we move forward, we would have some funds readily available? Or do we want to go ahead, make some plans during this coming year with a view to budgeting for it next year? If we do want to put some money in here now, I don't think we want to get into any discussions about how we're going to spend it and whether it's compulsory and who requests and how much it's going to cost. We don't know any of that right now, and so we could spend a lot of time talking about it. And I think we all recognize that if first responders have been called to number 123 such and such a street, when they drive down that street, they should be able to see a sign that says 123 very clearly. That's where we want to get to. Again, the question is, do we want to put some money aside right now? Do we want to authorize or ask Suzanne to look at this and we haven't requisitioned anything here for how long?
It's 2016.
2016, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
It was very small amounts. Time, like $2,000, I believe, a year. But what I can do when I bring back the 5-year plan in February, have a conversation with Kim and just put an estimated requisition in there in the 5-year plan, so it'll show in 2026, maybe a small amount per year.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea to me. Do we need to motion things like that?
It's over an hour.
It's what?
If
It's part of this whole budget process. Susanna is suggesting that she makes some changes between now and when she brings back the 5-year plan. I don't know.
my comfort level is to ballpark a number that we're going to pull as taxes in this year and next. My comfort level would be to bring a report knowing a good estimate of how much it costs, so we're not pulling too much from the service. So we can say like that budget, but not knowing how much, we should do the work to add, to know how much, but with a lot of work, I think it's more than an hour and a motion would be.
Okay, so the motion would be what, to,
Receive.
no, sorry,
Receive it. No?
Along the lines of what CAO Heather Paul said earlier, which of course the wording has left me, but I said I would like to make that motion, but then we got sidetracked, so, but I see there's no specific projects on the 2025 work plan, and I think, oh, that's too bad. I thought we did that pilot and we'd be doing some more. But I also get that it's more than one player here. I don't think it would be a very large amount, but I don't know. So we don't have that information. So I think the motion to maybe do that, a report on what we've done so far and what we could do and how much it would cost sounds like a reasonable request. And I hope it's not too much work. I don't think it should be, but what do I know?
okay. So you're gonna make that motion?
Yes.
Julian,
Hmm?
say it again, I think I have it.
Meanwhile, I'm gonna see Director Mack.
Well, I was just gonna say, we know how many signs we put up on the High Line. We know how much that cost. So if it was 20 signs, you divide that cost by 20, and you know how much it costs per property to put the sign on it. So it shouldn't be too hard to figure out a budget. If we want to do 100 properties or 200 properties or 50 properties, based on what we've already done, we know the cost per property to put a sign up. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to this and a lot of unanswered questions. What is the responsibility of the property owner?
Yeah.
You know, and before we start budgeting it, can we insist that they do it? I don't know, there's a lot of stuff I don't know.
Well, the only thing I think if we sort of initiated the program or managed the program, what you want to have is you want to have standardized sign, like with the numbers on it. Like over in your area past in the TNRD, they've got those lime green signs with the numbers on. They're very, very distinctive, right? So, you know, people could order those for we want them all the same. Because what happens is, and they all need to be in a place where you can actually see them. So, I mean, anyways,
This is more than a budgetary issue.
yeah.
This is a huge issue. You try that in some area, you all have to have the same sign. Do we have the authority to do that? Do we have the ability to
Well,
enforce
it
that?
seems that, yeah,
The one on
TNR has
rock
done
or
that.
wood or something.
So,
DNRD's done a good job with it. It's not like we. So I had made that motion and Angela has it in proper wording.
Yeah, well, may I suggest, I just want to ensure that I'm capturing the discussion, is perhaps the resolution is that staff bring a report to the February 2025 EAD meeting on the civic address signage pilot project, which was that project from the west side of Anderson Lake,
Right.
with an estimated cost to roll out a civic addressing program throughout the SLRD.
EAD areas.
That's
Yeah.
the only thing that you.
That's all we're talking about. Excellent. Yes, I'd like to make that motion. That looks good.
Yes. Moved by Director Bush Jones, seconded by Director Mack. Do we have any further discussion or comments on it? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favour? Opposed? Motion carries. Good. So Suzanne, that you don't need to do anything right now. Wait until it comes and we'll see. So let's get back to the budget. We've done civic addressing. Where would you like to go next?
So we'll go to building inspections next, and like I mentioned, this budget has changed due to last minute discussions with the director of planning. So when we hired 2 clerks in 2024, it was at mid-year. They were both hired under the building inspection service. However, now when discussing this with Kim, she feels one of them really does more planning work, inspection work. So there was recovery coming into building inspection as a revenue in 2024. And the salary for this, both clerks were in building inspections. But now the request is to have, and it was budgeted this way, so that's why I didn't change 2024. So 2024 data will stay the same, but for 2025 budget, the change is that one of the clerks will be under planning now. So the planning department service, which will go to the board, to the Cal meeting in January, will include a planning clerk with time allocated to building inspection as revenue when, as an expense when they do work in building inspections.
Okay.
So
Okay.
basically, this changed the planning, building inspection requisition quite drastically, and it's not just the salary, so it's the employer health tax, the benefits, the health and wellness, training, the staff incentives, everything for that employee now will shift to the planning service. And just the expense for time allocation will come into the building. So it's estimated. So the change that I roughly did really quite quick before this meeting. Basically, the increase now for building inspection is not 190,175. It is now 118,000.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
that changes it, say $71,000. And then the taxation for this service would also shift to just be a 24% increase. And the change per 1 million is just 44 cents. I got that right, yes. So, yeah. Apologies that I couldn't have this done in time for the agenda, but for February, that will be adjusted and you'll see the change. So overall, now I'll go over the requisitions. Overall, the requisition change. All right. Instead of $35 increase, so the agenda states $35.58 of an increase for the average $1 million assessed home. This will now just be $20 average increase for $1 million for these EAD budget as with the change for building inspection. So otherwise, in the building inspection service, you'll notice that the building permit fees came under budget this year by quite a bit. And that's expected. These are user fees. It's just a rough estimate. We make the budget. We don't know how many applications will be received in a year. So we had to pull from the operational surplus reserve in 2025. And I've pulled just enough to leave the operational reserve at 4 months of operating left, which is the maximum recommended in the reserve guidelines. And so really that's what this reserve is for. When there's user fees that are short, we just pull from the surplus. And then when we have an overage, we transfer to the surplus. So we're pulling quite a bit. The surplus at the end of 2024 was 366,000. I'm gonna leave it at 248,000, which is roughly 4 months of operating. The minimum guidelines is 2 months, which would be 124,000. So we could pull more, but I think having a little bit extra is better than leaving it at the minimum. Any questions about that?
So. Yeah, but if I could. So in the end, after these changes, the tax requisition. Could you just review that again?
Sure.
Last year it was 95,761. And what is it gonna be this year?
Well, except, sorry, apologies, because I have 2 copies of everything. So for building inspections, the 2025 total will be 118,947 versus 175.
And that's mainly because of that staff position.
Yeah, and all the changes.
And then that staff position will go down to the planning.
With just time allocation to building when they work on building inspection.
And the tax rate, what will it be?
It is now for building inspections 0.026 per thousand of assessment. So for a million assessment, it's basically 26 cents.
I'm just curious, when I presume you've talked to
Okay, $2.60.
yeah. That you talked to the planning department, and I'm wondering what they're projecting for this year as far as recovery money from their inspections.
I don't quite follow what you're asking, sorry.
Yeah, previous life, I was used to like a 10-year, budgets, everything up to that 10 years or 5 years or. So I'm just curious on what the tax requisitions were like for 5-year span, the average.
I don't have information.
No?
No.
No, okay, well, I'm good with what's happening. But Okay, thank you.
Any more questions about building inspection? Any, Suzanne, let's go on to the next one.
Okay. We'll go to the elections and UBCM service. This requisition is just increased $1,000. And I've budgeted for 15,600 for the UBCM expenses for 2025. And that's just assuming 4 attendees to the UBCM conference. And then small increase for the UBCM dues. And then the transfer to the elections reserve for the 2026 elections is 20,769. And then the 5-year plan will make more sense. You'll see the elections costs coming through in the 5-year plan on 2026. And that reserve will be pulled in to offset that.
Okay.
Any questions on the election UBCM?
Oh, sorry.
Just, I know, I've missed lots of the UBCM. I know Russell's missed, we don't go to all of them by any means. I've gone once. The next one is in Victoria. Is that why you're putting in that extra $1,000?
I used the 2024 estimate where there's 2
You just added a
attendees
bit.
and I just increased it for traffic.
Best guess. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Emergency planning.
Emergency planning is next. So this service basically includes some conditional items. So there's a $25,000 standby pay estimate included. And this will require a policy first, but the conversation is that this is needed as many employees have to remain in their home or close to their home. So we want to basically compensate them for that. So the policy is still being created to basically allow this to happen, but for now, I've just budgeted 25,000, and then we're gonna have a small amount also in general government because other staff members are also on standby, including communications staff, which is under general government. So that's an add into this 2025 budget. There was also an add of 80,000 for fire service modernization.
What does that exactly mean?
Yeah. I was thinking you would already know this, but this is a request from the fire protection portion. And I see Heather's hand up, and she might have more details than I do.
This is the recommendations from the fire services review to now move forward into modernizing all the fire services within the SLMD and the process towards compliance. And supporting them as best we can includes looking at those fire services that are underserved through our services, including places like the Valley one that we've talked about, the Meadows. In the past, as I understand, there has been casual conversation with the EADs with the Director of Protective Services about possibly EADs pooling select funds in order to fund this. I've requested the Director of Protective Service to bring that report quickly up so that maybe this is pulled out of budget. We're not sure. However, with the hope is that grant fundings cover it. Because we can't guarantee grant fundings right now, we have to put it in budget or say we're not doing it unless grant funding happens. We feel this project is important, and it was a very major recommendation from the fire services review that we continue this work. So I don't think it's responsible for us to say, unless we get grant funding, we're not doing it. We should be funding. Budget.
I went back to the minutes on the EAD, and then it was forwarded to the board for the fire service review to the board. Both of them were just receive the information. There was nothing ever said, let's move forward that I'm aware of. And at that time, I made a comment about grants. You know, are we pursuing grants? And I don't know if staff have looked for grants wholeheartedly with all the, various different fire grants from UBCM and different things like Fire Smart. You would think that this project would fit something. I like the project. I like to see it move.
Yeah,
Through the chair, this is one of the projects that have been in a lot of communication with the Director of Protective Services about grants. They have been looking into many. They're being rejected they're not qualifying for it. So it's still an ongoing pressure to get a grant for it. At this point, the discussion was, should we make it happen no matter what? Or do we make the grant? And that might delay by a significant amount of time. But I know that they are pursuing grants.
so we put in 80,000 into the budget. Where's that line? Yep. If we get grants, great. But if we don't get the grants, we want to find that 80 and be able to spend it anyway. So that's the, obviously, if we get a grant, great, but the suggestion is that we do not sit and wait for a grant if we consider it important enough that we move forward with it. And that we try our best to offset the costs with grants. If we can. Where's that?
Yeah, I just, I have a bit of an issue or problem with where we're going here. Like, I personally think that our regional fire chief should be more active engaging with, the small departments throughout the whole regional district on a personal level, on a regular basis, helping them up their game. But it seems that we're spending the majority of our time with bureaucracy and with fire commissioner's office stuff. We're not getting out there and helping the people put their programs together to the best of their ability. We're never gonna be a paid fire department throughout the area. We're gonna have paid on-call volunteers or volunteers augmenting a few paid staff. And I think we need to just focus on that. We seem to be focusing on putting lots of 3-ring binders together with all sorts of, rules and regulations and such. And maybe the fire commissioner's office wants everybody in the province to be a paid firefighter. Fine and dandy, let them come up with the money, as in the province. We don't have the tax base in the rural areas to do that.
No, again, you're going way beyond where we're at with this budget then. No, seriously, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, in that we do need to look at how we use our resources within the regional district. But I don't think we want to be discussing that right here and now. The question we have at the moment.
Well, the only thing is, Chair, I think it's wise to put that out there so that all of a sudden we don't pop it up 6 months down the road or whatever, right? I think that the emergency planning department should be aware of what my concerns are. And if everybody else is concerned, fine and dandy.
So,
But I think we need to
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you, I'm trying
Yeah,
to separate it,
yeah.
I'm trying to separate it from
Yeah.
the budget discussion. It obviously has budget implications with what you're saying, but what you're looking for is again, some sort of report from staff or some sort of engagement with staff about the way that we use the resources that are available to us. That would be a separate motion, as we had a separate motion in the last section of the budget. Sorry.
I would like to just reiterate that an $80,000 project is not going to be signed, sealed and delivered prior to a review by this team. I don't think a motion is needed. You can be assured that an $80,000 project is going in front of this team before it including an application for grants and all that detail, and a report is being planned right now by our protective services director to this
Okay, that's it.
We've talked about the general select fund, which services all 4 electoral areas. This project could fit underneath that. And I've made the comment before of taking some of the PILT funds that go to the general government, and the other one goes to planning. Taking some of that money, putting it into more of that into general select. So that we can do things like this that benefit everybody. And it also benefits the whole region. Depending on where the fire starts. Fire could start in area D and end up in Whistler. Fire could start in Squamish Valley and end up in Squamish. And the list goes on. Same thing with Lillooet. Not so much for area A, but it benefits all of the SLRD, a project like this.
So in terms of this budget discussion, we've got a line item there of $80,000. Are you suggesting we take it out, put it somewhere else, or?
Exactly.
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
In the report, it says current budget shows no offsetting for grant funding. There is potential option to split this cost using EAD select fund with an RFD pending from the regional fire chief January or February 25. So it's sitting here, but look, likely by March it isn't. And as it's a placeholder at this time.
So we can defer the decision until later in this process.
Approving this as presented isn't approving the budget. That's March.
Yes.
This is a path forward and outlining that there's work being made to possibly remove some of these costs, but we are marking it at this point.
Okay. Does that satisfy the point you just made?
But I'd like my comment to be considered.
Well, you've made the comment, Suzanne's heard it. Now CAA's heard it. Do we need to formalize it beyond that?
Oh, that's fine for now.
I don't know, okay. All right. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah, with the February budget meeting, you know, and that report that the fire chief is creating, we'll adjust the budget based on that report and bring it again in February. And then in March, we'll have a final budget, hopefully final, to be approved. So this is still, you know, gonna change quite a bit, especially if the 2024 forecast figures are still gonna change quite a bit. We're still getting invoices and revenues too. The other change is I did transfer 38,211 to the operational surplus reserve, as there was a surplus carried forward this year of 72,000. So that meets the minimum guidelines of 2 months of operations, so that's kind
Oh.
of nice. Nice win, but that could also be reduced if in the end, the requisition is deemed to be still too high.
Okay.
That's it for the emergency planning, and then just the select funds services are basically showed with all of the funding being spent in 2025. So it's available in the budget for, and then if it's not used, it just carries forward as per usual. Any questions on the select funds budgets?
Dr. Bush Jones?
Couple of things, of course, I want them to be bigger. Do we want to make the appreciation fund larger? Is it serving? I mean, I'm okay with it the way it is, but that was just one question that crossed my mind. Is this a place to do that?
Yeah, we've talked about
The $500 a year, is that? Does it stop anybody? Like you go, oh no, I've already spent it, so I can't do this and that. I mean, I've used it, but I see we kind of use it erratically. You always use it for the same thing.
Suzanne, let me just clarify that, it's $500 put in there. If I in February spend 300. When does that, my impression was that once that was approved and done, it was topped up to 500 again. And I thought it was set at 500. The implication was that if we want to spend something more than that, it needs to come here for discussion and a resolution.
Yeah, my recollection is it was a resolution of the EAD that this $500 per year would be attributable to that appreciation fund. So if that was to be amended, increased, just another resolution, I think, stating the
So
new
it was 500 per year.
per year.
Yeah, per year. So once if you spent it all in January or February,
It's gone.
then it's gone till next year.
Yeah. I think in a sense, I think actually fits the purpose of it.
Yeah, no.
I thought the idea was, it's a relatively small amount that we can spend and then provide the information to support that it has been spent, but that it would be topped up.
From select funds.
From select funds, it's just a mechanism to allow us to spend small amounts of money. And I've never spent more than 500 in a year, so it doesn't bother me that much, but I don't think it should be extended beyond 500 at any one time, because if you want to spend $1,000, I think it needs to come here for a resolution. Okay, Angela, what can you tell us?
Yeah, for information to the committee, and as per the Director of Finance comment, on March 12th, 2012, there was a resolution that an annual appreciation fund of $500 be established within each electoral area select fund for use at the discretion of the electoral area directors. So as per the discussion, there was that cap on the $500 that was specific to
So
that
it's for
fund.
the, okay,
Yeah.
That's 13 years ago. $500 doesn't go as far as it did 13 years.
I was gonna suggest that we make it 1,000. That was my humble thought, but it's not that I've ever really bumped up against that $500 ceiling. It hasn't caused me any grief, and I don't think it has necessarily the rest of you. But I just thought, is that a good idea? Because things cost more. But it's maybe just something to consider for the moment.
well, you want to make a motion? That was a resolution of the board or of this committee?
It was a resolution of the EAD because it is select funds. The allocation of funds is at the discretion of this committee.
So, do we want to change it? Want to change it? We need a motion, second?
Or
If there's a seconder, then I'll move that. Then I just really wondered if other people thought the same thing.
You're moving.
That we increase the amount of the appreciation fund in the EAD budgets to $1,000 per annum instead of 500. I mean, if you don't
I'll
use
second.
it, it just goes back. It's not like this is,
I'll second that.
okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
Okay. Thank
New
you.
resolution for you there, Suzanne.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Okay, anything else on select services?
I did have one other question, if I could. It goes back to the emergency planning. I saw the entry there on the agriculture livestock emergency plan, which was done through a grant, which is terrific. The emergency plan, I'm just getting ready for fire season here, and I know that farmers are supposed to register their livestock and so on, and no one's doing any of this. Does this emergency plan cover area B? And I would just like to have a look at it at some point, so maybe just that comment for the protective services in anticipation of the report that's
Oh,
coming.
I stuck in
I mean, do you want me to give you the exact reference? It's under fees and other revenues on the emergency
Mhm.
planning page. Well, we
Okay.
got that grant, which is terrific, and apparently the emergency plan's been done. I'm interested in it, just to be aware of what it is and what it covers, anticipating the next fire season.
Okay.
There is plans to bring that report to.
That's
terrific.
We would all.
Okay, that's in process.
Definitely.
Great, that answers my question, thank you.
Okay.
Would you like a motion to receive these?
Hang on just a minute.
Yeah, I guess, what I would be interested in is how many people on an annual basis, like farmers, ranchers, actually take advantage of registering what they've got. Because I just find that would be interesting.
In area B?
One,
So we've got some questions. I don't think we can answer that question here today. So is that going to impact the budget?
No.
It's Brent.
No. Okay. So it's something we're interested in. So is that something we can pass on to Mark, would be the person?
Well, CA Weather just said there's a report forthcoming on this one, right?
Through the chair, almost all the work that staff do on this here for review. And to the board depending on, unless it's operational in manner, this is a project staff are working on.
So we'll get some information on that in the future.
Mhm.
Okay. Is that okay? With you?
yeah, I just think it would be very important to, just to have a general number to see how many people are actually, taking advantage of it. And if they're not, we need to step up our PR game to make sure that these folks know that that's, available.
It works, definitely.
Because when the poop hits the fan, that's not the time to be figuring it out.
Okay. That was an interesting picture. Good. Now, back to this. Anything further for Suzanne and Colin on the budget? So
I'll go and receive.
I was just going to ask you that. Thank you very much. Move received by Director Mayor, seconded by Director Burch Jones. In favour? Opposed? Motion carries. Suzanne and Colin, thank you so much. Appreciate your work and we look forward to
Thank
hearing
you.
more detail in the months to come. Oh my goodness, look what we've got next. 8.1, appreciation fund item.
I was just trying to bank my appreciation
Yeah.
fund there. I don't think this will go into effect until next year though, so in the meantime, I would like to move, is there specific-
$100.
$100 be paid to me, to reimburse me for gift cards purchased for, the Area B Agricultural Advisory Chair, Jackie Rasmussen. She just retired. And she was the chair through some tough years, including COVID and redoing the bylaw and so on and so on. She did an amazing job, and this has been delivered and received, and I would like to be reimbursed.
I don't think you need a motion.
You don't need a motion. Thank you. I forget that. Thank you very much, Angela. Just to state it for the record.
That's right. So we just need a motion to receive because that select
triggers
funds
the-
delegation of authority bylaw has a clause within it.
Right.
This is that we just need to ensure that the public is aware and it's on the record. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of receiving.
So it's information, we received that, and by receiving it, we're informing finance that it has to be paid.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct? Good. Okay, so motion to receive, seconded, all in favor, opposed, nobody, motion carries. Good. There you go. Thank you. Now we'll get into correspondence for action. How do we do it for time? What do you want to do here? We put you on to Thursday. Good, okay. 9.1, the Tenny Beach Community Association Bulletin Board, $1,000. I can move that from Area D Select Funds.
I'd like to second it.
Any questions or anything? No? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. 9.2, Second New Year's powwow.
And yeah, staff have done some footwork on this for me too, which I really appreciate. So it was a very successful powwow and it was expensive, and I would like to support the event by contributing $2,000, and this money should go to the Squamish Nation. And staff note a check. Does that go as Pavilion Band or Squamish? But it's to be paid to them towards the costs of the 2024 powwow. 2024-25. Yes, it went over
What was
the 3
last year?
days.
Yeah.
It went December 30, 31 and January 1.
The question. Have you talked to the Squamish about it? Do they need any more than that?
I actually did, and it's so cool because they said, no, thank you, Director Birch Jones, we'd like $2,000, and I was pleased as punch.
Okay.
I've got the whole budget here if you're interested.
I'm willing to split that with you. 1,000 from.
Wow, from Area A.
An area, and your area.
That's very wonderful. So then this is 2 checks, so we're gonna change this resolution.
No, it doesn't need to be 2 checks, I don't think.
One check.
Suzanne's explained to us, but I think $2,000 check and you split where it comes from.
All right, but make sure it comes out of A.
So the resolution needs to be approval of $2,000
One.
with money coming from $1,000 from area A select and 1,000 from area B select. That can all be in one resolution.
I've watched a lot of videos and pictures and amazing turnout. Excellent.
Okay. So that's moved by Director Birch Jones, seconded by Director Demare. We still have a quorum. All in favor? Opposed? None. Motion carries. Good. Thank you. We'll move on to the next one, 9.3. The District Chamber of Commerce Annual Business Excellence Awards.
Yeah, I've supported this the last couple of years. Last year was a huge event celebrating the emergency responders, and also around the time of Darren Oike's retirement and so on. But this year, I would like to move that Area B select funds in the amount of $2,000 go to the Lillooet and District Chamber of Commerce for their event expenses of the third annual Business Excellence Awards Gala.
Second? I'll second it. Okay. Any questions, any comments? All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. And we'll continue with the Director Butch Jones show, 9.4. Laughs.
Yes, well, I'll just make the motion to fund Lillooet Agriculture and Food Society laughs for $11,025 to cover their 2025-2026 fiscal year expenses associated with rent of the Lillooet Grown storefront. This is in the hub for anyone who's interested.
Yeah.
That motion, we have enough in the budget.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Director Bernard. Any questions? No, hearing none, all reflect on in favor, opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Request for funding 9.5, for, I love the way they express this, a book exchange shelf. What it, we didn't attach a picture. What it is a post with a little house on the top that you use for book exchanges.
Little libraries.
A little library, is that what they call it, little libraries?
Sweet.
Yeah.
And there's lots of funding from that from the community foundations of Vancouver, the Community Foundation of Whistler. Lots of those applications build those little libraries.
Really?
But they can apply for money here, they can apply for money there. They're great. They're everywhere in Whistler. Every single neighborhood has one. It's great.
Yeah, they're getting more popular in the southern part of Area D as well.
The problem with them is that everybody buys too many books and then you can't do anything with books. They can't be recycled. They can't go to thrift stores. They take up a lot of room. And no one sells used books like they used to.
Oh, they do. There's a new used
Wow.
bookstore in Squamish. I encourage you to go and look
It's
at it.
amazing, but they can only take about a third of the books that they're donated.
Yep, and then but then there's also one on Cleveland Avenue, which is a community charity bookstore. You can drop books off there.
This is a great reuse, recycle,
Awesome.
share. I
Yeah.
completely support this.
Yeah.
All right, so I moved it, you're seconding it.
Yes,
And I guess I could have just done a check for $500, couldn't I? But out of my appreciation fund, but no.
we should talk about how we use the
Got
appreciation.
two in the area. Okay, one
Yeah.
at the museum, it's outside, and one up at private property on the road, Drive Lake.
These, the men's club not the men's club, the men's shed in Squamish should build a couple of these things. So I'm hoping they'll do this one. Did we move that? We moved it and seconded it. All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Good, thank you.
And if nothing else, this group could use that $500 onto the leverage and apply to some of the foundations and get more and have even more of these bookshelves if they wanted to.
Your option if you want.
What's that?
Option if you want to break from engineering, we'll go into.
Well, this next one's probably going to take more than 10 minutes, do you think?
I just maybe we have to use motion to split these two up between lunch. Because they're.
Sorry, what are you suggesting? We're going to do this one now.
No, I was, if there's an option to have to break for lunch.
Break for lunch. And then,
In minutes.
okay.
It's your choice.
We're not going to cram this in before lunch, so I'm suggesting we break for lunch right now, and then we will deal with the remaining items in the afternoon. Lunch will be ready when?
It should be ready in about 3 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes. Okay, there we go.
Walk
So
slowly.
we'll recess the meeting and come back after lunch. Thank you. Oh, we're in business. Okay. So I'm going to call this meeting back to order.
Are we live?
We are live at
Okay.
this point. The item we're at is 12.1, correspondence for action. Follow-up correspondence from C. Stacy regarding the Bradford Preservation and Conservation Fund in the amount of $15,000.
You're, I'm gonna declare a conflict of interest for agenda item number 10,
Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead there, didn't I? Beg your pardon.
number 10,
10.1.
11, and 12. Because
Okay,
my wife is on the board of the BRVCA and my daughter is a paid staff member.
thank you. Give you a few moments to get yourself together and. It's 10.1 correspondence for information.
That's a very good letter from the Bridge River Valley Community Association explaining what they're doing, what they've done. A motion to receive.
Yeah, this was in response to a letter we had at, I think, our previous meeting. Asking questions about.
Yeah.
And they've answered the questions,
They
so.
have answered all the questions.
Heather,
I think one of the questions that is outstanding, which will be addressed in item number 12, is about the process of decision on the 9 private properties.
Another question. for the
that doesn't really come up in here, does it?
No.
But they offer, we can provide someone available to answer questions, provide any documentation and so forth. And they provide an email and a phone number.
Okay, so. Do we need to do anything with this other than receive it?
You can just receive it.
Dave, public,
Yep, move to receive.
seconded by Director Mack.
I know that's very helpful.
Okay. I call question, all in favor, motion carries. So that is what's happening. One. We don't have any additional late business. So we'll go on to 12.1 late business, which is what I just erroneously mentioned. So we'll get back to it now. Oops. So this is the letter from Miss Stacy. Okay. What's your pleasure with this one?
Dated January 14th, we're looking at the same, this is the 3-page letter.
You've only just got this. Yeah.
Same person that wrote to us last month. And I believe last month we directed, I mean, I have every confidence in the Bridge River Valley Community Association, and I believe that they try and be transparent and that they would answer these questions. This is somebody that lives there, and I was actually on a couple of the committees under the bridge. I don't know that for sure myself, so, but I'm not sure why it's coming back, why more questions are coming back to us when we know that it's the Bridge River Valley Community Association that has the answers to these questions in the detail that this person is asking.
Did you say Mark was gonna come in? and
Mark's
speak to
right
this?
there.
Oh,
Wait, but he's not there to speak to us.
Oh.
May I speak?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I've only asked Director Phillips to be here, the Director of Protective services, because the focus of this is about the decision made at the EAD committee meeting on the $15,000 of funding. That is the focus of this decision, and that was based on seeding, based on the Downton Lake fire. So just in case there are questions, Director Phillips is here. He's not here to present anything. There is a request from this letter saying that, I think the last two paragraphs, and what I'm saying is it information or action? There is a request that the grant be rescinded and funds returned. I would guess that the decision or discussion here is going back to the moment where the EADs approved this funding. The question is, were they fully informed? And are they comfortable with that decision moving forward? I believe reading this, that's the focus for the EADs in this conversation. And it-
So the question we should be asking ourselves is, when we approved that grant to Brevco, did we do it within the sort of established parameters for the use of those funds? If so, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I think there's a paragraph here that summarizes the core of the letter.
Yeah. It's a question of taxpayer money being used on private properties.
Yeah.
And were we in error in granting that money? So we need Suzanne here. No, we don't need Suzanne.
No.
Okay, how do we do it?
We don't have a rule that says, I mean, the intent was to help and is to help, and I hope is helping the larger environment. Like, there were some properties where people weren't there, or they couldn't afford to, or they're maybe elderly and didn't have the capability of doing some of the cleanup that was required, which was threatening the larger environment, including the lake, the drinking water. And so they have made the decision to sort of target areas where people, for whatever reason, weren't getting there and help to get it done. There was a certain amount of time pressure because the seasons are changing and runoff is it's springtime. So I thought it was a good executive decision for a fair amount of money at the time. And so I'm comfortable with it. I don't feel any inclination to question what Brevca's doing really, or even, I mean, I think we've got some good answers here, but certainly not to rescind money that's already gone out and has in part been spent, and they have some good plans for spending the rest of it that will contribute to the betterment of the environment for the entire community, as I understand it. So I'm comfortable.
Director Mack?
Yeah. I agree, like, these are extenuating circumstances, you know, half the place just got wiped out by a major fire. There was a lot of destruction there, and the environment could be impacted dramatically. If you don't do anything there is going to be runoff, and there's going to be stuff getting into that lake, which you probably don't want there, seeing as how it's supplies of drinking water for all the people that do live there. So I think that, like, these folks here that are asking this question, I think that they need to just kind of step back and say, okay, is this for the greater good of our community? Yes, it is. Okay, so you let it go forward. Yeah, I just think it's extenuating circumstances. I think it was the right thing to do. They need to get that place cleaned up and rebuilt as quickly as possible.
Mark, I wonder if I could ask you a question. You know, what impact will this have on water quality? Will it have an impact on water quality?
Through the chair, and thank you for the question. There has been multiple water quality sampling reports done and kind of a course done. And to date, there's no evidence that the wildfire impacts had any kind of negative or threatening human health due to the post-wildfire impacts. So everything is within the parameters for drinking water quality in all the tests that have been done.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Okay. The only concern I have, question I have is there something in the community charter, or wherever, that says we should not have spent the money or cannot spend the money this way? And I would like this, I'd like that to be,
You can come back with that.
I think so. I'd rather that we checked it out and found the answer than somebody else checking it for us.
Do you want to check it out or get your motion?
Yeah.
So you'd like a motion to confirm our understanding that,
I just want to confirm that the decision we made in granting that money fits within the guidelines for use of select funds. If we made an error, we need to rectify it in some way. So I think we should confirm. At the time, we felt we were doing the right thing.
I don't think I would support that. In terms of some of the back and forth on when is the best time to seed and so on, some of those other questions. Just like the last time concerns came forward from the same person, we directed them to the Bridge River Valley Community Association to talk it over. I mean, I would think if there's information that they don't have that helps them make better decisions, I would hope that they're open to receiving that information and changing their decisions. It's a nonprofit group. They're open to community members. They communicate well, or at least they're available. So I don't see why these questions just don't go there. Again.
Well, I have,
We'll do something with this.
You can receive it. You don't have to respond to every single.
No, I said we
Well, previously, I mean, obviously this person is concerned about the best use of this money for the best results in their community, and we're completely in agreement on that, but I think that's what Bridge River Valley is trying to do, and that's what we were trying to support through that grant. So I'm not having doubts or feeling, and I don't have the detailed knowledge to answer some of the questions, but I think they're fair to go to Bridge River Valley Community Association. I know I'm just saying the same thing over and over again here.
Just move on.
Yeah, so receive the
Move
letter.
on.
So you're moving receipt of
Receive the letter.
seconded by Director Mann. Any further useful comments or conversation? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Okay. Sal's conflict period is over, so,
That's
did Angela just go
Angela's on her
for
way.
it? No, Angela's on her way, good.
Thanks, Mark.
He was waiting.
Is that that a motion of, notice of motion?
I don't move as fast as I was when I was younger.
Okay, item 13, director's notice of motion.
I got nothing. Just scaring you.
Okay. We now enter a vacuum here, that was 14. Oh, sorry.
As your vice chair, I would really like to move that we adjourn.
Adjourn. Very good. We're adjourned.
We need a
See,
second.
I don't think you need you do think we need a second, do you? Okay.
Okay,
Can
second.
second it. We'll vote as well, do you have to vote?
Yeah.
All in
I
favour?
refuse to adjourn.
No, no.
I won't.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Imagine if you were having